There was a time in my life when nothing was obviously wrong. I wasn't failing, I wasn't overwhelmed in a way that looked dramatic from the outside. My life, on paper, looked fine. And yet, every single day ended with the same quiet sensation. I would come home, sit down, and feel like something inside me had been slowly drained. Not suddenly, not violently, just steadily, like a battery that never quite reached full charge anymore. It wasn't sadness, it wasn't even classic burnout. It was a deeper kind of exhaustion, one that didn't seem to have a clear cause. Conversations felt heavier than they should. Being around people, even people I liked, felt expensive. And rest didn't really restore anything. That's when the question started. Why do I feel tired so easily? Why does normal life seem to cost me more than it costs other people? Why do I need so much recovery time just to feel okay again? For a long time, I assumed the answer was something personal, a flaw, a lack of resilience, a sign that I wasn't built for adulthood the way others were. But that assumption was wrong. Some people don't get emotionally drained because they do too much. They get drained because they absorb too much. Not in a poetic way, in a neurological one, because not every nervous system interacts with the world in the same way. Some people move through life with strong internal filters. They unconsciously tune out emotional noise. They notice what's relevant and discard the rest. Their system prioritizes efficiency. Other people don't have that luxury. They register tone shifts before words. They notice tension before it becomes visible. They feel the emotional temperature of a room the moment they enter it. And none of that is a conscious choice. It's automatic. If this is how your mind works, you're not just participating in conversations, you're processing them. You're not just listening, you're tracking. You're not just present, you're scanning. And that constant scanning comes at a cost. Most of the emotional work you do isn't obvious, not to others, and often not even to you. You regulate yourself so others stay comfortable. You soften your reactions. You anticipate needs. You adjust your tone, your timing, your presence. You carry emotional context that was never explicitly handed to you. And because none of this looks like work, it never gets counted. But your nervous system keeps score. It knows when it's been on all day. It knows when it hasn't had a moment of real disengagement. So the exhaustion doesn't always show up immediately. It shows up later, at night, in silence, when nothing is asking anything from you anymore. That's why sleep alone often doesn't fix it. Because the problem isn't lack of rest, it's excess input. In a world that never stops broadcasting, conversations, notifications, expectations, emotional friction, a sensitive system never truly powers down. And over time, that creates a very specific form of chronic exhaustion. Not collapse, not breakdown, just a persistent sense of depletion that slowly becomes your baseline. In cultures that value toughness and productivity, this kind of sensitivity is often misunderstood. It gets labeled as being too intense, too affected, too easily overwhelmed. But sensitivity isn't fragility, it's depth of processing. Some systems are built to move fast and filter aggressively. Others are built to detect nuance, patterns, and emotional subtleties. Neither is wrong. They're designed for different environments. The problem starts when a deeply sensitive system is placed in an environment that never stops demanding attention and never teaches it how to protect itself. So instead of adapting the environment or the expectations, the person adapts inward. They blame themselves. They think they should be able to handle this. They think everyone else can, so why can't they? But that comparison is unfair because they're not running the same internal configuration. They're not processing at the same depth. And when you don't understand this difference, you start treating a design feature like a defect. This is where emotional exhaustion becomes chronic, not because you lack strength, but because you've been open for too long. Open to moods that aren't yours. Open to emotional noise you were never meant to carry. Open without any real boundary at the level where it actually matters, perception. Not all exhaustion comes from effort.
Some exhaustion comes from awareness without protection. Understanding this doesn't mean withdrawing from life. It doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means learning something most people were never taught: that you are allowed to limit input, that you are allowed to close the door sometimes, that constant openness is not a virtue when it costs you your stability. And once you see your exhaustion clearly, once you realize it isn't a personal failure, something shifts. The self-blame softens, the confusion quiets down.
You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and you start asking better questions. What does my nervous system actually need? If this felt uncomfortably familiar, you're not alone. And no, that's not an accident. Let me know in the comments if you felt this kind of exhaustion, even when life looks fine on the outside. And if you want to keep exploring what it means to live well with a mind that processes deeply, not one that needs fixing, I'll see you in the next one.